Right now, today, I need you to make one decision. Promise yourself you will never finance another car for the rest of your life. I am dead serious. And before you click away and say that is impossible, stay with me, because by the end of this video, I am going to show you exactly why the car payment is one of the biggest financial traps ever normalized in this country. And I'm going to give you a real step-by-step plan to escape it forever. Let me ask you something. When did we decide that sending hundreds of dollars every single month to a bank just to drive a car was acceptable? Because somewhere along the way, it became normal. It became expected. It became just part of being an adult in America. You graduate, you get a job, you get an apartment, and you get a car payment. Nobody questions it. Nobody pushes back. It is just what you do. But here is what I want you to understand today. Normal and smart are not the same thing. Normal and necessary are not the same thing either. A lot of things are normal that quietly destroy your financial future. Car payments are at the top of that list. I have been doing this work for a long time. I have sat down with hundreds of people and gone through their money. People with real incomes, not minimum wage earners. People bringing home $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year or more. And they still feel completely broke every single month. They budget. They cut back on small stuff. They try to save a little. They invest a little, but they never get ahead. And there is always a reason. There is always something eating the progress. And 9 times out of 10, when we sit down and look at the numbers together, there it is, right there on the page, a car payment, sometimes 2, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. Gone. Every single month. For years. A depreciating asset sitting in the driveway is quietly strangling their financial life. And they have accepted it as just the cost of living. It is not. And you need to hear that clearly. The numbers that should scare you. Let me give you some real numbers. The average new car in America today costs around $49,000. The average monthly payment on that car is nearly $800 a month. For used cars, the average payment is still over $500 a month, and people are financing these cars for 6, 7, even 8 years now. 8 years. Think about that. You could have started paying for a car when your child was in 2nd grade and still be writing that check when they start high school. Now here's the part that should really get your attention. More than 100 million Americans currently have an active car loan. 100 million people, and the total outstanding automobile loan debt in America has reached a record $1.5 trillion. Trillion. With a T. That is not a small problem. That is a national financial crisis hiding in plain sight, dressed up as transportation. And here is the thing that gets me. I ran a poll on my YouTube community tab. About 7,000 people responded. I asked one simple question. What do you think is a reasonable car payment? 43% said 0. No car payment is best. Another 41% said somewhere between $0 and $300. That means over 84% of the people who responded said a large car payment is a bad idea. Most people already know this is hurting them. So then why does America owe $1.5 trillion in car loans? That gap between what we know and what we do is exactly where the problem lives, and we are going to talk about that today. The dealership game you do not realize you are playing. Let me explain something about car dealerships that most people never really think about. The dealership is not primarily a car company. I know that sounds strange. Walk into any dealership and you see cars everywhere. Cars on the lot, cars in the showroom, cars on the billboards. It looks like a car business, but the real product they are selling is debt. Financing is where most car dealerships make the bulk of their money. The actual markup on the vehicle itself is often pretty thin, especially on popular models where competition is high. But what they earn from locking you into a 5 to 7 year loan, that is the real business. Think of it this way. You know how McDonald's sells hamburgers, right? But McDonald's primary business model is actually built on commercial real estate. They own the land that franchise locations sit on. The hamburgers are almost a side product. McDonald's is a real estate company that happens to sell food. Car dealerships work the same way. They are a finance company that happens to sell cars on the side, and they are very, very good at getting you to play their game. The first thing a good car salesperson does is not show you the sticker price. They do not start with total cost. They ask you one specific question: what monthly payment are you looking for? That question is not innocent. That question is a strategy. Because the moment you start thinking in monthly payments instead of total price, the whole conversation shifts in their favor. $49,000 sounds like a huge number. It should feel heavy. It should make you hesitate. But $799 a month? That feels manageable. That feels like something you can handle. Same money, completely different emotional response. They have effectively disconnected you from the actual cost of the purchase. And once that disconnection happens, you stop asking whether the car is worth the price. You only ask one thing: can I afford the payment? And if the answer is yes, they have got you. If you walked into a dealership and someone handed you a bag with $49,000 in cash and said, "Put this on the counter if you want the car," you would feel that decision deeply. You would think about it differently. You would negotiate harder. You might walk away. But spread over 84 months at $800 a pop, it barely registers as a real financial decision. That is the psychology. That is the game. And most people play it over and over again for their entire lives without ever realizing it. Depreciation. The part nobody wants to talk about. Now let me talk about the other side of this equation, because the monthly payment is only part of the problem. The bigger issue is what is happening to the car while you are making those payments. A car is not an investment. It is not an asset in the traditional sense. From the moment you drive it off the lot, it starts losing value. Immediately, every single day, every mile, every month. The car is worth less than it was the day before. New cars can lose anywhere from 15 to 25% of their value in the first year alone. By the time 5 years have passed, some vehicles have lost half their original value. And here is the brutal part. While the car is shrinking in value every day, your payment stays exactly the same. You still owe the bank the same amount every month, whether the car is worth $49,000 or $25,000 or $15,000. This creates a situation that financial professionals call being underwater. You owe more on the car than it is actually worth. And a lot of people stay underwater for years at a time without even realizing it. So let me say this plainly. You are paying full price for something losing value every single day, with money you could have been building wealth with. That is not just a bad deal. That is one of the worst financial arrangements most people will ever enter into, and they do it voluntarily, repeatedly, for decades. Now add on everything else that comes with the car: insurance. And if you have been paying attention to insurance costs lately, you know exactly how painful that has become. Some people are paying $400, $500, $600 a month just for insurance on a financed vehicle. Registration fees, property taxes in some states, fuel, maintenance, tires, brakes, unexpected repairs. The car payment is just the cover charge. It just gets you in the door. Everything else starts billing you after. When you add up the true cost of ownership on a financed car, the number is staggering. Most people have never sat down and actually calculated it, because if they did, they might never finance a car again. The leasing illusion. Let me address leasing before we go further, because I know it is going to come up. A lot of people choose to lease because it feels smarter. Lower monthly payment, newer car, reliable, warranty covered. Just swap it out every 3 years and stay in something fresh. Sounds reasonable on the surface, but here is what leasing actually is. Leasing is a permanent car payment with no end date. When you take out a loan, at least there is a finish line. You make your last payment and the car is yours. The obligation ends. You own something. A lease never ends. You make payments for 3 years, and at the end, you have 2 choices. You can buy the car, which usually means financing it anyway, or you sign another lease and start the payments all over again. You never own anything. You build no equity. You have mileage restrictions. You face penalties for wear and tear, and you are trapped in a cycle that is specifically designed to keep you making payments indefinitely. Think of it like this. Imagine going to a car rental place. Enterprise, budget, Hertz. Pick one. And instead of renting a car for a week, you sign a contract to rent that same car for 3 years. You would never do that, right? That is a lease. You are renting a car for 36 months, and when those months are up, you hand the keys back and have nothing to show for it. Leasing is paying to rent a lifestyle you cannot actually afford to own. That is the honest truth of it. Some people use leasing for legitimate business purposes, and it makes sense in specific tax situations. But as a personal finance strategy for everyday transportation, it is a trap dressed up as a deal. The identity problem. Here is something we do not talk about enough when it comes to cars. A lot of car purchases are not really financial decisions. They are identity decisions. People buy a certain car because of how it makes them feel, how it makes them look, what it says about who they are or where they are going in life. And I understand that. I genuinely do. There is nothing wrong with wanting something that feels good, that represents your taste or your hard work. But there is a difference between rewarding yourself for your success and borrowing against your future to perform a lifestyle you have not actually built yet. When someone making $50,000 a year takes out a loan for a $45,000 car, they are not expressing success. They are funding an image, and they are paying interest on that image every single month for years. The car becomes a costume, a very expensive costume that depreciates while you sleep. And the painful irony is this: the people who look the most successful based on what they drive are often the most financially fragile, because the people who are actually building real wealth, they are usually driving something paid off and practical. They are quietly stacking the money that other people are sending to the bank every month. Real wealth is built in the background. It is not usually parked in the driveway. Why we keep doing it anyway? So why do we keep making this choice? I asked this question in my poll, and I really want you to think about it. If the majority of people already believe large car payments are a bad idea, if we all have some sense that financing a depreciating asset costs us more than it gives us, why do we keep doing it? Part of it is conditioning. From the time we were old enough to observe adults around us, we watched people finance cars. Parents did it, neighbors did it, co-workers did it. It just became part of the background of what adulthood looks like. Part of it is the payment psychology I described earlier. Breaking a large number into small chunks makes it feel manageable. The pain is distributed and diluted. Part of it is urgency. Something breaks down. You need transportation. You have to get to work on Monday. You go shopping on Saturday with high emotions and low time. And in that state, you make a reactive decision instead of a strategic one. You grab the first thing that works and you finance it. And part of it is the belief that there is no other way, that paying cash for a car is something wealthy people do, something older people do after decades of saving, not something a regular working person can realistically accomplish. That belief is wrong, and it is costing people enormously. The step-by-step plan. Let me give you a real plan, not a vague suggestion, a specific, executable strategy that real people are using right now. This plan starts where most people actually are. With a car payment, you want to eventually escape. Step 1. For the next 18 months, save $500 a month. That is it. $500 a month. Now I know someone is already thinking that is impossible. I will get to that in a minute, but stay with me. $500 a month for 18 months is $9,000. During those 18 months, you are still driving whatever you have. You are just building the foundation. After 18 months, you take that $9,000 cash and you buy a used car. A solid, reliable, paid-off vehicle. You own it outright from day one. Is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be new? No. But it is yours. And you owe nobody anything for it. Step 2. After buying the $9,000 car, keep saving. $500 a month for 12 more months. That puts you at 30 months total from the beginning. At the end of those 12 months, you have $6,000 saved. Your $9,000 car has been driven for 30 months. Put some wear and mileage on it. It has depreciated. It is now worth around $7,000. Sell it. Take your $7,000 from the sale, plus your $6,000 in savings. You now have $13,000 cash. Go buy a $13,000 used car. Cash. No loan, no interest, no monthly obligation. 30 months in, 2.5 years. You went from a car payment to a $13,000 vehicle you own outright. Step 3. Now you back off a little. Save $300 a month for 12 more months. That is 42 months total from the beginning. $300 a month for 12 months is $3,600 saved. Your $13,000 car has depreciated over that year. Sell it for around $12,000. $12,000 from the sale plus $3,600 in savings equals $15,600. Buy a $15,000 used car. Cash. 42 months, 3.5 years. You have a $15,000 car that you own completely. No bank, no interest, no monthly payment eating your paycheck. And here is the key from this point forward. Every time you need a new car, you repeat a version of this process. You save, you sell, you stack, you upgrade. Each time buying a better vehicle with a larger pool of cash. You never go back to financing. You never restart the cycle. Over a lifetime, the difference in wealth between someone who always has a car payment and someone who follows this kind of strategy is not $10,000. It is not $20,000. It can easily be hundreds of thousands of dollars when you factor in what that money could have grown into if invested instead of sent to a lender. But what about safety? I hear this one a lot, and I want to address it with respect because it is a real concern for a lot of people, especially parents. I want a newer car because I want to feel safe. I want reliable safety features. I want something I can trust with my family in it. That is completely understandable. And here is the truth. You do not need to spend $30,000 or $40,000 to have a safe vehicle. You can find a genuinely safe, well-maintained used car for $9,000 to $12,000 with the right approach. Modern safety standards have improved dramatically. Many vehicles from the last decade have excellent crash ratings, anti-lock brakes, stability control, multiple airbags, and solid reliability records. The difference between a safe car and an unsafe car is not always age or price. It is research and inspection. A car that has been poorly maintained at $25,000 can be more dangerous than a well-maintained car at $10,000. What you need is knowledge, not a bigger loan. Learn the basics of what to look for. Study the reliability ratings for specific makes and models. Always get a used car inspected by an independent mechanic before buying. Check the vehicle history report. Take it for a thorough test drive. A little preparation goes a long way, and it costs you nothing but time. Think about mechanics for a second. Have you ever noticed what mechanics usually drive? Not brand new cars, not leased luxury vehicles, usually something older, something well-worn on the outside, but running perfectly on the inside, because a mechanic with knowledge can take a car that looks rough and turn it into something that runs great for years. They know what matters under the hood. They are not paying for the image. They are paying for function. You do not need to become a mechanic. But a few hours of research and a $150 pre-purchase inspection can save you thousands, and it can get you into a genuinely reliable vehicle without a payment attached to it. Here is what I think is really at the center of all of this. Breaking the car payment cycle is not really a math problem. It is a mindset problem. The math is actually pretty simple. The challenge is overcoming the conditioning that tells you it is impossible, or not worth it, or not realistic for someone in your situation. So let me say this directly. You can do this, not in some abstract motivational poster kind of way. In a real practical, this has been done by thousands of ordinary people kind of way. People with your income, people with your expenses, people who started in worse situations than yours. People who were deeply in debt, living paycheck to paycheck with no savings at all. They started where you are. They committed to a plan, and they got out. The first thing some people do when they hear a plan like this is immediately start building a list of reasons why it will not work for them specifically. My situation is different. My city is too expensive. My car is too old to wait. My job requires a reliable car. My credit is bad, so I have to finance. I do not have $500 a month to save. I have heard every single version of this, and I understand that circumstances are real. Obstacles are real. But here is what I also know. Most of those walls are ones you built yourself. Most of those reasons are habits of thinking, not actual barriers. If you save 300 instead of 500, the timeline stretches, but you still get there. If your situation requires more time, take more time. The destination does not change. What changes everything is believing the destination exists. A lot of people have been conditioned from childhood to accept certain financial limits. They were surrounded by people who had car payments, who had credit card debt, who lived paycheck to paycheck and called it normal, and somewhere deep down, they absorbed the belief that this is just how life is, that wealthy people do things differently, but that is not for me. That belief is a lie, and it is an expensive one. What you could do with that money instead. Let me show you what the car payment is actually costing you. Not just in dollars paid to the bank, but in what those dollars could have become. Say you have a $600 a month car payment. Over a 5-year loan, that is $36,000 paid out. Now, imagine instead of sending that money to a lender, you invested $600 a month into an index fund for those same 5 years, earning an average return of 10% annually. At the end of 5 years, you would have approximately $46,000. And if you kept investing that $600 a month for 30 years, you would be looking at over $1.3 million. $1.3 million from the money that would have otherwise gone to car payments. Now, obviously, life is more complicated than that. You still need transportation. There are real costs involved. But the gap between what the car payment path costs you versus what the cash car path could build for you is enormous. The car payment does not just cost you the money you send every month. It costs you everything that money could have compounded into over decades. That is the real price. And almost nobody thinks about it that way when they are sitting in the dealership focused on whether they can afford the monthly payment. How to start today. You do not have to have everything figured out before you start. You just have to start. Here is what you can do in the next 24 hours. First, write down your current car payment and every car-related expense you have each month. Total it up. Let yourself see the real number. A lot of people have never done this because it is uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Second, figure out what you can realistically save each month. Not what you wish you could save, what you can actually commit to right now. Even if it is $200, start there. Third, if you currently have a car loan, find out your payoff amount and your current vehicle value. Are you underwater? How far? Knowing where you actually stand is the first step toward changing it. Fourth, make a decision about the next car you buy. Not the one you are driving now necessarily, but the next one. Decide right now that it will be paid for in cash. That decision does not cost you anything today, but it changes the trajectory of every car purchase you make for the rest of your life. One decision. That is what this comes down to. Not a complicated strategy, not a risky investment, not a major sacrifice. One decision to stop normalizing a financial habit that is quietly stealing your wealth year after year. The car payment does not have to be part of your life. It does not have to be permanent. It is not a law of nature. It is a choice, and you can make a different one. I broke this habit 15 years ago. I have not had a car payment since. I am not going back, and I am telling you from experience, the freedom on the other side of that decision is worth every bit of the effort it takes to get there. If you are already buying your cars with cash, drop a comment below. I want people to see that this is real, that regular people are doing this, not just financial gurus or high earners, real people, with real lives and real budgets. And if this video helped you see things differently today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone stuck in the payment cycle who does not even realize there is a way out. The best investment you can make right now is in the financial decisions you make today. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. See you in the next one.